Right, lad.
Dus voor Taoiseach Boal fáilte mórach churáid agus buchas as ocht Seanadóirí Fianna Fáil as ocht teachtain seaniu agus leirtain. I'd like to address you on two issues, mainly Seanad reform, which you addressed the House in relation to, and Brexit. After over a dozen reports on Seanad reform, it is now incumbent on you as Taoiseach and as your government to meaningfully engage with the Seanad reform process. Fianna Fáil supports the Seanad Reform Bill 2016, which implements the Manning Report on Seanad Reform. The bill is very much in keeping with Fianna Fáil's explicit An Ireland for All manifesto. Fianna Fáil was the only parliamentary party, I'd like to point out, to oppose the abolition of the Seanad in 2013 and set out detailed reform proposals at that stage. While affirming the importance and value of the Upper House, Fianna Fáil recognises the need for expansive reform in the Seanad in order to revive its popular legitimacy and to restore its important role in the legislative process. The stance has been supported by the recent report of the Working Group on Seanad Reform, which echoes many of the recommendations made by Fianna Fáil in 2014. Some of the key points which we made at that time and which were raised in the Manning Report and which were raised by our leader, Fianna Fáil, which our leader was able to implement was appointing 3 independent senators to the Upper House, and we've been able to appreciate from our own experience the valuable contributions that these new senators have made to this current Seanad. The bill draws on the Manning Report and reflects much of the previous 2014 Fianna Fáil bill in the area. After 12 reports on Seanad reform, we now need real action and not more idle talk. The bill provides a clear route forward to reform the Upper House. Taoiseach, it is vital that you, following the failed campaign to abolish the Seanad, to meaningfully engage in the process, ensure that the actual legislation passes through the Dáil at this time. The second issue I'd like to address is that of Brexit. Taoiseach, the outcome of the Brexit referendum on Britain's membership is hugely disappointing. While we respect the views of the voters, we regard the outcome as a bad result for Ireland, for the United Kingdom and for the EU as a whole. However, what is needed now is calm, stable and a measured approach, and our main focus should be on showing that Ireland plans to remain a committed member of the EU, making Brexit an absolute priority in our public business, pushing for the unique position of Ireland to be recognised in negotiations and working to reform the EU so it lives up to the principles upon which it was founded. Ultimately, the long-term outcome for Ireland of this referendum will most likely depend on the relationship that Britain establishes with the EU and the terms of such a relationship. We must ensure that Ireland's interests are to the fore in any negotiations. Taoiseach, Britain is our nearest neighbour and the largest trading partner, and the implications for trade, travel, tourism and so many other facets of life will be affected. The uncertainty in relation to the borders is a huge concern for the whole island, with massive effects on trade and the agribusiness. Taoiseach, it is crucial that the issue of the border is central in the discussions that will follow to negotiate the United Kingdom's exit from the European Union. Ultimately, we need political, economic and legal certainty as soon as possible. Taoiseach, I have a few short questions for you in relation to Brexit. What do you as Taoiseach hope to achieve with the All-Ireland Forum, and how do you plan to make it as inclusive as possible, given the DUP's reluctance to participate? And my second question is, given that Brexit, when it eventually happens, could take many forms, how is the Taoiseach's department planning for all of the possible scenarios? What is the Taoiseach going to convey to other member states that Ireland's position in relation to Brexit is unique and distinct, and that there is a need for sensitivity, particularly in relation to Northern Ireland? Taoiseach, we've already seen the impact on the mushroom industry as a consequence of the referendum result. 90% of all mushrooms grown in Ireland are exported to the UK. What efforts are being made to protect industries that are particularly vulnerable as a result of the Brexit? And finally, in relation to Brexit, what are our embassies doing to promote Ireland as a destination for business and to lessen our dependency on the EU market? I have 3 other short questions, Taoiseach, non-Brexit related. The first is in relation to your current budget. Taoiseach, I'd like to ask you what your plans are to ensure that the budget is weighted in favour of those who've suffered most during the last number of years, in particular lone parents, the elderly, households with children. My second question is, I'd like to ask you, Taoiseach, if you are going to give a commitment that the Christmas bonus will be restored in the upcoming budget. And finally, I'd like to ask you why there are no senators on the Budgetary Oversight Committee. There's only TDs on that committee. Thank you very much.
Margaret, Senator Murnane O'Connor, you have 3.5